On this episode of the Enough Already podcast, I discuss my weekend in Denver, which includes the 2016 RedState Gathering, my look inside a marijuana dispensary, my time inside a furry convention. That's right, a furry convention, among other things. Also, we talk about Hillary, Wikileaks, corruption in Pennsylvania, and the Olympics with our good friend Ashe Schow. Remember, you can always check out the Enough Already podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and the TuneIn app. And find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Enough Already podcast. Well, enough already. Let's start the show. Oh, Tracy.
Oh, fingers.
Should I just begin and tell you everything that happened? My magical weekend in Denver, Colorado?
I'm dying to hear all about it.
Okay. Well, I flew in Friday for the RedState Gathering in beautiful downtown Denver. And first of all, I make a mistake and I get a super shuttle. Have you ridden a super shuttle lately?
No.
For those that aren't familiar, it's a shuttle that you pay for, and you share a ride with about 10 different people in a 20-year-old blue van that smells like peas and ass.
Peas as in the vegetable or urine?
Yes. No,
Oh,
peas as in the vegetable and ass.
Okay. That's an interesting combo.
Well, super shuttle is an interesting form of transportation.
This is what you do when you're super cheap, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And
how much did this pea-ass ride cost?
It cost me $25 because the airport in Denver is pretty far away from downtown or where I was staying, which was Cherry Creek.
Okay.
Which is a Fuda-Fa-Fa area of Denver.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Fuda-Fa-Fa.
Is that something that you made up?
It's fancy.
Okay.
The Cherry Creek area of Denver has a little tourism bureau, and they came out with a video describing Cherry Creek, and they described it as like drinking a fine Bordeaux.
No.
Yes.
So you went to Soda Sopa, is what you're telling me.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly where I went. So that's what I was thinking. I was going, and then on my way, and I only saved $5. I found out later by taking the super shuttle versus an Uber. Which really made me want to hit myself in the head with a ball-peen hammer, because I made a huge mistake. I didn't have my earbuds in my ears, which is what I always do on the plane because, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Sure.
Nobody needs that.
No.
I shared this super shuttle with one other lady, and she would not shut the fuck up.
You didn't think to go sign language on her?
Hey, monsieur.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
It's
either that or you carry always a culture book with you, or I like Thomas Sowell's Black Rednecks, White Liberals. That makes people leave you alone.
She would not shut up. She kept talking and talking. I know her whole damn life story. And, me, I don't like talking to people, especially strangers, because what do you get out of small talk? Nothing.
It just passes the time, Finger.
I don't want to pass the time talking to someone I'm never going to see again. What do you get out of a 10-minute conversation about the weather? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. That's what she wanted to talk to you about?
Oh, the weather's just so gorgeous here. And, the last time I was here, and I'm like, I don't care about the last time you were here. I don't want to hear about your trip this time around. I don't want to hear about your next trip here. Just please shut the fuck up.
You should have asked her about politics. It's a good way to kill conversation, right? Bring up the taboo topics. Politics, religion.
should have brought up something completely off the wall. It amazes me that you're talking about weather right now, because I just saw this piece on Infowars.com about how the government controls all the weather all the time.
You never know what you're going to invite in that situation.
Yeah, that's true.
You're like, oh my God, I saw that too. I've made several videos where I've gone out in my yard and sprayed vinegar, I believe it is, at the clouds. This is how you protect yourself. This is my understanding.
See, so you really, the best way out of it is you keep the earbuds in.
Yes.
So she doesn't come up for a breath for like 15, 20 minutes. And we're driving into Denver on a Friday at 8:30 in the morning. We're parked on I-70. Traffic isn't moving, and she won't shut up. It's blah, 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 blah. And then she finally comes up for air, and that's when the driver decides to turn up NPR. At that point, I was like, if to make this totally and completely my hell, if he could pick up Train and they could join us for the ride and they could sing Hey Soul Sister a cappella, I think that would pretty much be my hell.
Oh.
So, after an hour and 15 minutes of what should have been a 25-minute ride between the traffic and, of course, you're sharing a ride.
And do they sell pot at the airport?
No, they don't.
Oh.
It's illegal to have pot at the airport.
Interesting.
They drop her. He drops her off, then he drops me off at a Holiday Inn in Cherry Creek, which is, like a fine Bordeaux. I look, and right across the street from my hotel is a place called
the Social Security Administration building?
No.
Okay.
It was like Shotgun Willie's or One Eye Willie's or something like that. It was a marijuana dispensary, a strip club, and I think an indoor shooting range all in one.
So you felt at home.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
If only they had slots.
No, there's something really pathetic about a middle-aged man walking into a strip club.
At 9 a.m.?
Yes. But they were all friendly.
Oh, so you went in?
No, I kid. I didn't go in there. Checked into my hotel. And then, of course, as you mentioned, there are pot dispensaries all over town. And,
are they open that early?
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, people have to go get their medicine.
It's true.
For some, I hear it's a pharmacy. So I check in, and I'm supposed to go down to the conference, but, and I'm not a big marijuana guy, Tracy. You know this. But, when in Rome. So I'm all set out to walk to this dispensary that's like a mile and a half away. It's a beautiful day. Figure, okay, I could use the exercise.
This is more about the cheapness than the exercise, right?
No.
Okay.
So I got about 3 blocks in, and then fat guy. The fat guy in me started kicking in.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you ran into a fat guy.
No.
That offered you a ride.
No. Well, first of all, I was crossing the street, and the guy's just smoking a joint. Walking across the street. I was like, oh, wow. Because it's supposed to be, of course, illegal to smoke anywhere. But how are you really going to notice a difference if a guy is smoking a joint just like a cigarette? If you're a cop driving down the street, are you going to look at everybody's hand and what's in it as they're walking down the street and try to determine if it's a joint or a parliament?
Right.
So, walking across the street, I get 2 blocks down. It's 80 degrees. I'm fat. Like nuts to this. And then I look right across the street in a strip mall, and there is a marijuana boutique. It's like, okay, I don't know what the difference would be between just a regular marijuana store and a boutique. But I figured out what the hell. So I walk into this place, and Tracy Connors, it was everything I had ever hoped it would be and more.
Were there angels singing?
Yes. It was incredible. You walk in, at least, I don't know if all the dispensaries are like this, but at this marijuana boutique, you walk in, and it's a lot like a doctor's office. There's a waiting area. There's a place where you can get water. There's a television. And then there's a woman at a window. And she was very friendly. Says, "Hi, how are you?" And I said, "Hey, I'm fantastic. I'm from Indiana. Never been to a place like this before." She said, "Okay, this is how it works. You give me your ID, and then you walk through a door. This door right here. I hand your ID to a salesperson who will then be your salesperson throughout your whole experience here at the marijuana boutique."
Was she as bubbly as you're making her out to be?
Of course. Are you kidding me? Look where she's working. So,
was she wearing a lab coat?
No, she was not wearing a lab coat. She was wearing a cardigan sweater.
Oh. They had the AC cranking in there?
Yes, they did.
Which is sexist, but let's go.
It was very grunge 1992 Nirvana, that kind of look.
Interesting.
So I walk in, and this guy comes over, greets me, and I'm telling you, it was everything I had hoped for and more. Guy had like 15 piercings all on his face, and he's pointing stuff out. He's like, "Oh, dude, you know, man and dude, this thing over here, man and dude, and man and dude." I'm like, yes. This is the best.
Hey, I'm impressed that he's up and out and working.
Heck yeah. But then after I left, I was like, okay, was that an act? Was that just a big put on?
They're like, "We got an out-of-towner here." As soon as you see the ID from Indiana. Yo, bro.
Oh, man. So, I mean, they have everything, Tracy. Everything's under glass, you know. You're looking, and there's like, 30 different kinds of weed, I'm guessing. I don't know. And then they have the wax that you can burn, I guess, that you can turn into vape oil. They have a whole bunch of edibles and, crazy other ridiculous shit like pot lube, if you're the kinky type that wants to introduce a little THC into your lovemaking.
Okay.
So I'm looking around, and, he's following me. I go, "Dude, see this, man? Check this out, dude." Like, this is great. So I end up, I got a vape pen, a preloaded vape pen, 250 milligrams of THC. And I'm on my merry way. And so I go to I was supposed to go to a conference, Tracy.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
that was the reason you went to Denver.
Yes, RedState. And I walked in. It was a little smaller than it had been in the past. Not as many vendors. I have to say, it was not at all what I thought it was going to be. I thought
you didn't see crying and gnashing of teeth?
It was a lot of just acceptance. There wasn't a lot of anger. I did see a few people walking around with Make America Great hats. And
that's awesome.
They weren't treated poorly. I'm sure people were talking behind their backs.
Certainly.
For those that don't know what the RedState Gathering is, because I have a hunch we have a few new listeners this week. I'll get into that. My other experience I had in Denver in a little bit, but I want to talk about the RedState Gathering right now. Even like and I heard this secondhand from someone else. They had a Q&A session with Leon Wolf, who's I believe the editor now at RedState. And it was a Trump supporter saying, why did RedState go so negative on Trump? And apparently Leon was very friendly, and he said, "I'm really glad that you're here," which is not at all what I was expecting. I thought for sure it was going to be, let's shun these people. It's going to be 3 days of bitching about Trump. But from everything that I've heard and what I had seen at RedState, it wasn't like that at all. It was... there was a discussion as to what to do next. There were people who I ran into at the RedState Gathering that said, "Yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump because I don't want Hillary to become the nominee." You had people that said, "I'm going to vote for Evan McCandidate no matter what."
McMuffin.
Yeah. And, there were the Gary Johnson people. So,
interesting.
Yeah, so it was a good experience, and they really do a good job. I will say this for them of putting together a conference that you get to know the politicians a little bit more at these conferences than the Red State Gathering traditionally than you would at other conferences. They allow more interaction between the audience and the speakers than other conferences do. So I do recommend going there on, if you have an opportunity to go to a conference. It doesn't come close to Freedom Fest. Nothing does.
Sure. But
all in all, it was a much more positive experience than I thought it was going to be. So,
well, did Leon answer the question why they went so negative and why they are so negative?
They went. I'm sure he went. I wasn't in the room. He went on to spout what never Trumpers typically say, which is Trump's not a conservative, and at some point you have to draw a line. Look, I respect that. I really
I do too. But where was that line? I don't know, in 2008, 2012.
That's understandable. That's been my argument. Everybody running around saying that Donald Trump is the person that is murdering the Republican Party. Well, where was this angst towards Mitch McConnell?
Yeah.
To me, Mitch McConnell, along with John Boehner, and even going back to George H.W. Bush, started killing the Republican Party, and Trump is just here pissing on its grave.
Yep.
So, anyway, I left the conference at 5 o'clock on Friday to go to this bar because the high-flying Detroit Lions were playing, Tracy.
Oh, preseason football, not to be missed.
Yes. So, and they had this. I was at this bar. It was called Henry's Tavern in Denver, and I'd never seen this before. Regular bar going all the way around, and then the 6 inches of the bar had a cooling plate on it that ran the whole length of the bar, and it was all frosty. And I didn't even notice it. And then somebody pointed out to me, you put your drink on there, and it keeps the last 2 inches of your beer cold.
Perfect.
So that was cool. But so that was my Friday, and then I met some good friends of mine that were locals. We shut a bar down. Yada yada yada. Saturday, went to the conference again. Had a pleasant experience. Well, I should say Friday night, after everybody left, I was warned about the vape pen by a good friend of ours, who I won't name because I don't know if she wants everyone to know that she partakes in.
Yes, of course not.
So she said, don't start drinking and then hit the pen. Don't do that. She said, hit the pen first because you don't smoke weed. Mm-hmm. And then drink, and then you can incorporate, but don't drink, and then hit the pen. Well, it's midnight. I'm back at my hotel. The hotel bar is closed. I've had 9 or 10, 11 drinks. I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? Oh, yeah. So
going to ignore the advice I was given by a semi-professional.
Right. So I opened the pen up, and I'm actually glad I talked to somebody at the bar who had just bought one. He said these things stink just as much as a joint, which I didn't know.
No, I did not expect that.
So I opened it up. I took 2 or 3 hits of this pen and went upstairs and turned on my TV, and you wouldn't believe what was on.
Beavis and Butthead.
Close. South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Awesome.
So I sat there watching South Park, smoking my little vape pen. And then what was really weird, Tracy, is after I smoked that pen, I immediately wanted to do heroin.
It is a gateway drug. I knew it. It has nothing to do with bringing you into close proximity with someone that has access to all kinds of other illegal drugs.
Nope.
It's just marijuana itself makes you crave heroin.
Okay, so went to the conference, and I could go on and on about other stories, side stories, regarding what happened after hours at the conference, but not a lot of excitement. So then Sunday rolls around, and I check out of my hotel in beautiful Cherry Creek, Colorado. It was not like a fine Bordeaux. but it did the job. So I wanted to, because on Monday I had a ridiculously early flight, 6 o'clock in the morning, flying out of Denver.
Oof.
So I thought, okay, I'm going to stay close to the airport. So take an Uber over to the Crown Plaza Denver Airport and Convention Center. And the Uber pulls up to the front door, and there are these two guys walking out of the hotel wearing tails. Not like coat tails.
I was going to say, like tuxes with the long tails?
No, it was they were these long, furry animal tails.
Okay.
And they were rainbowish. And then I saw, as I'm getting out of the car, what I thought was someone in a rainbowy kind of pony costume. And I immediately thought, oh my God, is this a brony convention?
You don't know your...
No, I don't. Well, it was like it looked like
little fringe groups very well.
Well, no, it looked like a My Little Pony with like rainbows and stuff. And I was like, am I walking into a brony convention? So I go into the hotel at the front desk and then realize fairly quickly that it's not a My Little Pony convention, because there are people dressed in fox costumes and cat costumes, and I thought, oh, these are furries. So check into my hotel. I go to my elevator, and the elevator door opens, and 3 people in full like cat costumes are walking out, and they're making these weird noises, like I was like, what? So I go into the elevator, and there are 3 people in there with me that are not dressed up, but they have some sort of credentials on. Like they're at a conference. And I said, so what is this? And one of the guys said, it's a furry convention. It's lots of fun. I said, okay. Whatever gets you through the day. I'm going to go over here now. So go to my room. I contact you. So I said, okay, you're never going to believe what I walked into. It's a furry convention. And you said, well, you got to interview people. You have to.
Yeah.
And so I threw it out there on my Facebook that I'd walked into this furry convention and I didn't know what to do. And of course, a lot of people are hitting me up. You got to talk to them. You got to talk to them. You got to interview them. And, you know, they made it sound like I should go in like making fun of them and stuff. And that's not my style. These people aren't harming anyone.
Right.
You know, I don't understand why, you know, some of these people are making fun of the furries that I know go to like Comic-Con and dress as superheroes and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference?
I can't think of one.
So, but I had to find out because, you know, I'm in Denver during the summer. Sunday, it was 91 degrees outside.
Oof.
And people are walking around in these costumes. So I was like, I got to find out why people do this. So, and by the way, the name of the conference was the Rocky Mountain FurCon.
Okay.
This was the 10th annual Rocky Mountain FurCon.
Wow.
And let me give you some of the numbers on this, Tracy. Because it went from Friday the 12th until Sunday the 14th. And to give you an idea, this was a decent-sized conference hall. There were, according to the Rocky Mountain Fur Conference Twitter account, there were 1,670 attendees.
Wow.
There were 284 fursuits in the parade, whatever that means. 75 staff and volunteers, 65 dealers, 35 artists, and 350 pieces of art in the art show.
Sounds like a pretty hopping joint.
Yeah, so I walked down there, and somebody had brought up an old CSI episode on my Facebook regarding furries, which apparently, must have rubbed the furries the wrong way. It was like there was a murder, and they talked about the dark side of the furry community.
Of course, it's like when Jeffrey Dahmer gave cannibals a bad name.
Well, so I walked down there, and that made me think back to that episode, and I kind of remember it. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I remember that episode. I saw a lot of kids running around, so it was somewhat family friendly.
Okay, because my only knowledge of them is from MTV's True Life.
Oh, I don't know what that is, so fill me in.
It's a doc series that they did, and it was like True Life, I'm a Furry.
Okay.
And they made it out that it was some fetish thing.
Well, I'm sure there is that, and I interviewed a gentleman who was a volunteer for the convention. He goes by the name of Taladrian. He is he wasn't wearing his costume at the time I interviewed him, but he's his costume is a fox. And he talked about kind of a little bit of the dark side of being a furry. There is some of that. And look, I'm trying to be fair, and I'm trying to be, nice about this, because a lot of people on the outside, okay, this is low-hanging fruit. They can make fun of these people, grown adults dressing up as animals. But we talked about this off the air. They're not harming anybody.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me at all.
Doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, I have to admit, I saw some strange shit, Tracy.
Sure.
I'm walking.
I'm sure we'd see strange shit if we were somewhere and there was a biker conference.
Absolutely. So
or the Mary Kay conference.
Yes. So I'm walking out of the elevator, heading to the lobby, and there's these two guys. They're only wearing tails, which I don't know. Maybe all these people were wearing just tails a lot through the weekend.
Because it's so hot.
Yeah, or maybe because this was the last day and things were winding down, people were, just putting their tails on, or I don't know. I'm not a furry expert. But these two guys are walking, and they're probably in their, I'm guessing, mid-20s. And one guy is behind the other guy, and they're walking, and he's scratching his ears. He's walking directly.
Scratching the other guy's ears?
Yeah, he's scratching.
So man one is scratching man two's ears.
Right, from behind. And the man who's getting his ears scratched has his head kind of up in the air, and he's going.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell it was. Like,
this is fun. Had you used your pen previous to this? Had you used your
No, I had not. I did not use my pen until a little bit later. But he was like, they were like making this noise that I can't replicate properly, but it's like a chattery kind of clicky, almost like a squirrel kind of noise.
Sure.
So he was scratching the guy's ears from behind, and he was going, and the guy who was getting his ears scratched was going. It's like, what the? I don't know what this is. So I go find a chair. Well, I'm watching the Olympics on this chair, and then all of a sudden, this 6-foot cat decides to sit down next to me on a sofa. And I'm trying to be cool, like, okay, yeah, there's a 6-foot cat. And this woman comes running up, and I don't know if this guy's like a furry celebrity or if it's just one of the better costumes at this convention, but she comes running up to this cat and says, "Oh my God, I'm so not worthy to be around here in the same room with you. I love your paws." And I'm just looking at my phone thinking I'm trying to process all this. And so, this person in the cat suit talks back and to this lady and they exchange pleasantries, but you really can't hear what the dude's saying because, you know, he's wearing a cat head.
Okay. And this is like full on mascot looking.
Yeah, this is exactly.
This is not like the Broadway cats where they just have painted faces.
No.
Okay.
And I did my best. I took a few photos, but I did my best not to be like a total dick and take a bunch of pictures of people who maybe didn't necessarily want their pictures plastered all over the internet. I tried to hide faces and stuff and just, okay, here's some costumes and here's some people, you know, walking around wearing a tail. So, and I'll put some of these pictures up on the Enough Already podcast Facebook page so you can see them. So he's laying there and they're talking and she says, well, really, how are you doing? And he sighs, and I heard this. He says, I need a cat nap. So I'm like, okay. All right. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I really should start interviewing some of these people, but I don't want to invade their safe space. You know, I don't know how these people I mean, obviously, you know, if you're going to a convention in a large hotel in Denver, you're going to run across people who are not part of your convention.
Sure.
And it as entertaining as it was to see some of the furries in their costumes. At one point during the night, they got, you know, those balls, they're called hippity hops. You know,
no.
It's like a large ball with like a handle, and you sit on it and you jump up and down on it.
Okay. I didn't realize they're called hippity hops.
I don't know what you call them. What do you call them?
I don't. I would never refer to them.
Oh. Well, there were 4 or 5 furries just jumping up and down on these things. So imagine someone in a full panther costume, like jumping up and down on a hippity hop in the middle of a large hotel. So as entertaining and as interesting as it was to watch some of these furries in their natural habitat, it was also very entertaining to watch people who are not part of the furry community, the looks on their faces as they were seeing this stuff was just as interesting and entertaining as anything that I was seeing from the furry people. I mean, I can't begin to describe the costumes properly. Like you said, it was like a lot of them look like mascots. Yeah,
they're serious business.
Yes.
You're and then hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, and then probably more than that.
I wonder how you fly with those, because those heads are really big. I don't think they would fit in a traditional suitcase.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm guessing. You know, it was the Rocky Mountain Fur Con, so I would think a lot of them were driving. But you're right. What if you were?
I'm sure some of them flew in. They had to.
Maybe you would have to ship your costume to the directly
true.
To the hotel.
Would you trust any of the mail carriers with it?
I don't know if you can part with your furry costume.
Yeah, well, you definitely can't fly in it, I wouldn't think.
No.
That would be a fun TSA experiment.
Right. So, watching people who aren't part of that community watch the furry people, that was a scream, too. But, you know, I'm watching these furries jumping around on a hippity hop, having a good time hanging out with their friends. Like, again, they're not harming anybody.
Right.
You know?
I think it's they don't bother me as much as those people that have like now adult what do you call it?
Well, they think they're babies?
Daycare. Yeah, where they go and color and cuddle and thumb suck, and that to me is more disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, and look,
just because there's a social justice warrior element to that whole thing, I feel like. But these guys, I don't care.
No, it is weird if you really do identify as a cat.
Yeah, that's a little odd. But
Okay.
it doesn't affect me.
No, it doesn't affect. Yeah, I get that.
Right.
And this guy I interviewed, Taladrian, will play his interview here in a little bit. Kind of explained how, you know, there are 2 sides of this. You've got people that are fully aware that they're human and they don't identify as their characters, and then you've got others that want to believe they're a cat or a fox or.
Sure. Go for it.
Again, yeah, it doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
I'm sure, for all I know, my neighbor could identify as a fox.
One of your children could grow up to identify as a fox.
That's right. What do I know?
Yeah, born this way.
Yeah. So, but having said that, I saw some weird shit. I'm drinking at a table with our good friend Michelle Ray, and my good friend Glenn Asbury. You haven't met him, and I look up and I'm going to get another drink from the bartender, and these two guys are sitting next to each other wearing tails, and one guy leans over and he just starts biting the other guy's shoulder right there at the bar. It's like, okay, I've never seen that before. Not judging.
You need to get out more.
I guess I need to get out more. I look at that and I normally think to myself, get a room,
Right.
But this was at 7 o'clock at the hotel bar. And then the whole scratching of the ears thing and the. But for the most part, like I said, I saw kids, but they had a dance. Who knows what goes on at these dances?
I wonder what kind of music they listen to.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like a rave. Is it a foam party? I don't think you can have a foam party.
No, not in those suits.
Costumes. So, hell, I don't know.
Ruined. I just want to know who they're all voting for. That's what fascinates me.
See, and I'll play the interview here with Taladrian, who was a really nice guy, and I felt like I got all the answers I wanted from him about the community, and at that point, I didn't want to. Again, these people were there to have fun with their friends. They, weren't out to be interviewed by some stranger.
Sure.
So, I'll tell you what. I'll play the interview right now with Taladrian, who was a volunteer at this convention, and then when we get back, you could tell me maybe what I did wrong, maybe what you wanted to hear from the community. So, here's Taladrian from the Rocky Mountain Fur Con. Okay, if you could give me your name and your title.
My name is Taladrian Cairn. It's my furry name. I'm just a volunteer here this year. It's my first year actually volunteering for this convention.
And what exactly is this convention?
This convention is the Rocky Mountain Fur Con, otherwise known as RMFC. Excuse me. It basically is a celebration of anthropomorphic characters, such as Disney's Zootopia that opened earlier this year, or Disney's Robin Hood from years and years ago, and all similar type of characters and such.
What do you find draws people to this? What do you call it, a community or hobby?
It depends on who you talk to, but for the most part, everybody's pretty well agreed upon it being the furry community or the furry fandom. Either one of those is equally appropriate. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
What do you feel draws people to this community?
Honestly, I think a lot of it is the community itself. There's just a lot of acceptance regardless of what part you play in society in general, and the fact that a lot of people have an identity crisis in a way, and the furry community allows them to explore that side of themselves in ways that other communities probably can't, particularly in the case of fursuiting, because a lot of furries feel that they are not necessarily totally human. I'm not one of them. I fully recognize that I am human, and the furry side of me is just an extension of that in a way. But for a lot of fursuiters, not all of them, but a lot of them, they do that as a way to become who they truly feel they are and allow them to really loosen up, essentially.
What kind of reaction do you get from people, outsiders that aren't familiar with the community? Obviously, you're at a big hotel here in a major metropolitan city. What's the reaction you get from outsiders?
That also depends on what their experience is with what has gone on in the media. Because if you look back on episodes of CSI that has done furry episodes, they've depicted a really dark side of the community, which I can't deny that it happens, but it is an extremely small portion of that community. I'm sorry, one more time.
That's okay. The reaction you get from outsiders.
Yes. for those that aren't really familiar, a lot of times, particularly if they see a fursuiter for the first time, most of the time they're like, "Oh, that's adorable. Let me go get a picture of it." But like from my personal experience, most of the time I have either gotten outright fear, right? Because for whatever reason, there's a huge fear of costume characters. Otherwise, it's just absolute adoration, whether it's super cute or super awesome, or I have to get a picture, or hey, do something cool or whatever. I had an experience here in Colorado where I was walking around 16th Street Mall and Jamba Juice saw me outside. They rushed me inside and said, "Hey, if you can do a hula hoop successfully, I'll give you a free drink." They just thought it was so cool.
Right. Well, and let me ask you about you said, how do you pronounce your
Taladrian.
Taladrian.
Or just Tal. Tal's your pal. It's stupid, but it works.
Where did you come up with the name, and what is your costume?
Actually, I came up with the name by accident. I was creating a character for a Dungeons & Dragons game 28 years ago.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's too long. 18 years ago, excuse me. For a Dungeons & Dragons game, and that was the name that just popped out. And when I came up with that, a lot of my friends all liked it so much that it just stuck. The character itself is a black and gray red fox species, which is an actual real-world color for a red fox. It's just a mutation. But it gets mistaken for a wolf a lot of times, and I've just come to accept that when I'm in fursuit.
Okay. Finally, I guess my last question is there a place where people go in the community to get their costumes online, or do a lot of people make their own costumes?
There are both of those. There's a lot of people, including myself, who work on their own costumes. I actually just started my own costume last year, and I'm still working on it because funds aren't exactly there. But a lot of times people make a living making these costumes for people, and they can range anywhere from partial suits where it's just a head, paws, and a tail for a few $100s, anywhere up to $6,000. So, and of course, within all of those, you pretty much get what you pay for. If you're willing to pay more, you're going to get typically a much better quality suit. But that isn't to say that one for $1,600 isn't also of really good quality. It just depends on the builder themselves.
Okay. Well, Taladrian, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We're back. Tracy?
Yeah.
Did you learn anything from that about the furry community?
I mean, you had already kind of teased it, that there are differences in the community, which is to be expected, right?
Yeah.
I guess he didn't use the word, but I think that some of those people identify as other kin is the technical wording that we're supposed to use for people that think that they know that they are animals. And like I said, I would have been more interested in, like, how did you transport your head? How do you go to the bathroom in that thing? Like, does it itch? Does it smell? Like, how do you clean it? Do dry cleaners look at you? Do they give you shit? Does it cost a lot? Where do you buy those? And then, of course, who are you voting for?
Yeah.
Who do you think would do the most to, for the furry community? Yeah.
Yeah, I should have done that. At the time, I thought maybe I'd interview some more people. I have to say, as I was walking around, especially after hours, because the thing ended at 8, and me and Glenn Asbury and Michelle Ray, we closed down the hotel bar, so we were there till 11, and there were quite a few of these the furries that were hanging around at the bar. There was only one person that I thought to myself, oh man, the BO on this person is strong.
Ooh.
I mean, you could smell it from like 3-4 feet away.
You think that Febreze would sponsor the whole thing.
Right?
But I'm serious, if anybody wants to fill me in on how you transport those things, all those questions that I still have outstanding, you can tweet them your answers at me, or put them on the Facebook page. Yeah,
Facebook page, facebook.com/Enough Already Podcast. Tracy's handle is Tracy L. Connors, Connors. Or tweet me at Fingers Malloy. I tweeted out that we were going to talk about the furry convention, and I actually have a few furries now following me. And
we welcome them.
Yeah, interested in hearing what I had to say about it.
As long as they're never Hillary.
No, I was really kind of disappointed in some of my friends on Facebook that it just seemed like all they wanted me to do was make fun of these people.
Well, I mean, that is how they're presented.
Yes.
So I don't fault them for that. Still, it seems like it's so easy.
Well, it felt like when I was in the elevator and they were not in costume and they had interaction with people who weren't necessarily in the at the conference. There was a little bit of social awkwardness you could sense from some of these people.
Sure.
And in a lot of ways, I have to believe that this is a lot like any of the conferences that we go to in the political world where, these people interact on social media and they may only see each other once a year. Mm-hmm. And they are able to go to somewhere where they can identify with other people who are into the same thing and they get to show off their costumes and have a good time. What's wrong with that?
I find no fault with them whatsoever. I hope they come to Freedom Fest next year.
They should. You guys should go to Freedom Fest next year. It's in Vegas.
Yeah. Wear your costumes. No one will give a damn.
Exactly.
They'll probably give you a panel.
Right. So that was my furry experience. My other experience that I had there was at some point, I still had the vape pen on me.
Yes.
And I was told that I would get anywhere from 80 to 95 hits from this vape pen. Uh-huh. And I didn't get anywhere from 80 to 95 hits from it. I didn't cache it. I just didn't have time to take 80 to 95 hits.
Right.
I probably only took about 20.
Uh-huh.
So now I'm looking up on TSA. Okay. Can I sneak this on the plane and take it home with me?
Sure.
And it's funny. I mentioned it to at least 5 different people, including you. And you're like, don't be stupid. Don't do it. Don't.
Yeah.
It's stupid. And I'm looking on different websites like High Times and all these other sites that are like, it's illegal, but TSA's totally not looking for it.
Right.
So then I'm like, oh, God.
Well, they don't catch 95% of the weapons that go through.
That's right. Yeah, that's the other thing, too. But you know me, I'm not exactly a glass is half full kind of guy.
No.
So I'm assuming that if anybody's going to get caught and made an example out of, it's going to be me.
Right. And I can't imagine you playing it off and being all nonchalant in the security line.
So.
And the problem is now they bring out dogs from time to time.
Yeah. And so the last night I'm there with Michelle. Mm-hmm. And I bring up to Michelle and Glenn, I was like, God, I got this pen and I really hate to leave it here. I spent $40 on it. And there's still a lot to be had out of this pen. And Glenn said, oh, you can't take that on the plane with you. And at the same time, Michelle's like, are you crazy? Take it on there with you. I was like, what? She goes, look at this. And she pulled out she had a vape pen. Uh-huh. But it was a regular vape pen. She doesn't smoke pot.
Sure.
So it's a regular vape pen. It looked exactly like my vape pen.
Right.
Exactly like my vape pen. Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, oh, shit. Now what am I going to do?
You should have bought one of hers.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So I'm staring at her pen and my pen. I go to bed at like midnight. The alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning. Mm-hmm. I get, cleaned up, get ready to get downstairs for the shuttle. And I'm staring at that pen. Just staring at it. Going, should I take it on the plane? Because originally I thought, well, I'll just check it. But apparently you're not supposed to check e-cigs because they could explode and bring the whole plane down. Right.
Sure. Just like, you know what? I always pack my electric toothbrush, which has batteries in it. And guess what?
Yeah.
They've never exploded.
Odd.
And there's never been like, the TSA flagged this. Because there were batteries in it.
Oh. So, what do you think I did?
I think you left it.
Yeah, I left it.
Of course. That's smart. I mean, they would probably have just taken it from you and thrown it away.
That's what I've heard. I read several articles Some actually from the local newspaper in there in Denver, and it said that for the most part, TSA, if they catch you with it, they tell you to throw it out. They'll contact local authorities, but they aren't looking for it.
Sure.
That's not what's going to bring down a plane, So, but I thought to myself, man, knowing my luck. And then once I got to the airport after I threw out my pen, by the way, if you want a free marijuana vape pen, slightly used, dig through the trash at the Denver Crown Plaza Hotel by the airport. You may find one.
Is it true that they have boxes at the airport that are like, if you still have weed with you, deposit it here?
You know what? I didn't see it. I looked for them.
Because I've seen news stories that show those prominently.
And when I didn't see those, I thought to myself, man, they aren't even looking for it anymore.
Yeah.
So that really pissed me off. So I get to the TSA agent who looks at your driver's license and your ticket to make sure you are who you say you are. And how are you doing, sir? And he looked at me and he said, I can't think of a place I'd rather be right now. And I was like, oh, son of a bitch. I could have been walking through here smoking that vape pen. So that was Denver, Tracy. Politics.
Lovely.
Furries. And pot. And now, because of my vape pen experience, I want to do heroin.
Of course. Well, some state will legalize that soon enough.
They will before I'll be able to get a 6-pack of beer on a Sunday in Indiana.
Well, you could just hurt yourself and get legal heroin.
Yeah, really. And for those that are listening for the first time, I don't actually want to do heroin. My God, he says he wants to do heroin.
Oh, one weekend in Denver and you've been completely corrupted. Next, you're going to be looking at mascot outfits.
We're going to Amsterdam.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Oh, why even bother going? I mean, the only benefit of going there is they actually let you smoke it in the shops.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a pain in the ass because obviously I didn't want to do that in the room, even though I swear all the hotel rooms in Denver have an odd odor to it.
Of course. Well, I mean, it's the tourist industry for it is booming, and they've been trying to figure ways to get around the stupid laws about not being able to have coffee shops, as they're called, in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So I remember there was one, I think it was a clothing store that, they sold, like, it was like a head shop / pot clothes. So it's Bob Marley t-shirts and funny things where they put weed into existing logos and stuff like that. And the guy that ran it was just like, oh, this is a pain in the butt. Well, here's a loophole. And it was having a private club. You can do it in a private club. And I've seen this in Pennsylvania. I used to belong to a private club. It cost me $10 a year. Mm-hmm. And this was to get around the bars closing at 2 a.m. deal.
Right.
So if, as long as you're in a private club, you can drink until the private club says, get the hell out. So what this guy did was set up a private club that you paid $5 to be a member for the year. And you just walk in there and sit down and smoke. And then, of course, he got shut down. And then the city, I think this was in Denver, the city came after his landlord and got him thrown out, his entire business thrown out. Because God forbid we give people somewhere safe to sit down and do this.
Well, look, I understand that you don't want a bunch of people just walking down the street smoking a joint.
Sure, but that's happening anyway, and that's happening everywhere,
yes,
regardless of whether it's legal or not.
Right, and it happened while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I was walking in downtown Denver, I didn't see it. But when I was in Cherry Creek, which, by the way, is like a fine Bordeaux, that guy was just walking down the street.
Sure.
Joint in his hand. Hey,
I've seen that
day.
Everywhere I've been.
Yeah. But it's a pain if you're a tourist. I didn't want to use that pen in the hotel room. So I had to go down the elevator, and I was on the 8th floor. That's a pain in the ass. Like, I actually had to walk all 8 stories down. was like an extra 30 seconds. And then I got to the hotel lobby, and I had to, take a little stroll on the sidewalk.
To go break the law outside instead of inside?
Right.
Good for you.
And then at the Furry conference, I just walk in the parking lot. Mm-hmm. Take a little stroll.
Should have borrowed one of their heads and fishbowled it.
I just, they were walking outside, and I thought to myself, my God, it's 91 degrees. How are you guys doing this? Mm. And the other thing, too, that was strange was it was either the night before or that day, I guess, they had a Rocky Horror Picture Show screening. Awesome. So you had guys walking around in the Tim Curry character. I'm not familiar with Rocky Horror.
Frankenfurter.
Okay.
You've never seen Rocky Horror?
No.
It's awesome.
It's a musical.
It's a lot of fun, though. Meatloaf's in it.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm sold.
No, it's excellent. Susan Sarandon before she became a total nutbag.
It's just kind of hot, wasn't she?
I think. Yeah, and she's running around in her underwear the whole time.
Oh, well, now you're starting to sell me.
It's good. The music is really good. The story's funny. And, of course, they're going to remake it, and it's going to suck. But, yeah, you got to go to one of the midnight shows where the people, everybody comes and they actually bring all the props because they throw stuff at the screen. And
Are you serious? Wait, they're going to remake Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, they just announced it a couple weeks ago.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Hollywood is completely out of ideas. They're bringing back MacGyver on television. And I saw that now they're going to remake Ocean's 11.
Yes, with chicks.
With chicks.
Yeah, because that's worked out so well.
Well, it's bullshit that they even remade Ocean's 11 to begin with.
Yeah.
There are certain films...
I can see... Well, I've never seen the original. And you're talking, what was the gap in between? 30, 40 years?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're not even waiting a decade.
Gross.
Yeah.
But they shouldn't have made I loved the original The Producers movie.
Yeah, with Gene Wilder, is it?
Yeah, and then Matthew Broderick remade it with, what was it?
Nathan Lane.
Nathan Lane.
Yeah, the
Will
original.
Ferrell.
I didn't see the remake.
No, you didn't miss anything. Oh. The original was funny.
Oh, the original's great. Mel Brooks is a genius.
And it's a shame that Mel Brooks movies now could not be made.
No.
Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
There won't be a remake of Blazing Saddles with an all-female cast.
There's been some big movement to get that taken off of any streaming site if it's up there anywhere, or get it yanked off of YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them are that politically incorrect.
Well, Tracy, I completely unplugged over the weekend, so I have no idea what happened in the world. What did I miss?
Well, you missed another CVS acting up. This time it was in Milwaukee.
Oh, I did hear something about a riot breaking out.
Yeah.
What happened?
So there was an officer-involved shooting on Saturday, I believe it was, and resulting in the death of a 23-year-old young black man.
Okay.
Who apparently, and according to, this is in everybody's favorite Sheriff David Clark's neighborhood, so he's been speaking out about this for the last couple days, and he's been excellent, I think. There's a video of this, so that will be released. But he was waving a gun at the officers, and they told him to put it down several times, and he did not comply. So he was shot by a 24-year-old black officer.
Okay.
But somehow, and I'm not sure how this all happened, but it got turned into, of course, a riot.
Okay.
This is yet another instance of police brutality, and I don't know, hands up, don't shoot. Somehow that narrative still pervades. So anytime this happens, that's what it is.
But now this says guns up, don't shoot.
Yes. Yes. It absolutely is.
We're taking it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So this happened at 3:30 on Saturday afternoon, and then rioting broke out Saturday night. It continued again on Sunday night, and there's a lot of videos circulating on the internet now that's just showing rioters saying, "Hey, there's a white person. Let's go get them."
Oh, okay.
And it's rather frightening. There were two different guys that I followed during the height of the Occupy movement that were videoing it. And if you'll remember, I mean, that was, 2010?
Yes.
2011? So the tech wasn't there. Like, we didn't have Periscope. We didn't have all that stuff.
Right.
So it was really interesting for the first time to be able to see that going on. And I actually saw one of them, Tim Cast, who I'm about to talk about right now. I met him at the Occupy National Gathering, because when leftists gather in a city near me, I have to go look at that.
Absolutely.
So I met him, and like, his rig was insane. He had because he was shooting on a Canon, I think it was like a 7D, which is a pretty heavy duty, expensive camera. And he had this crazy rig with a portable MiFi on it and all this stuff. And then he had to have his phone linked into it too, so he could be responsive on the live stream. And now he's transitioned, in addition to the other guy that I watched, Luke Rodzinski. Tim went to Vice, and Luke is on his own with We Are Change. And Tim has since left Vice, but he still runs around. And when stuff like this happens, he gets there. So he was on the ground last night, and I was watching his Periscope. And he's saying, he's capturing some of this stuff. Like, there's white people, let's go get them.
Is Tim black? Is he white?
No, he's white. Well, he made a video today explaining why he was leaving Milwaukee. He said, I cannot stay here another night. I've been told by several people that I should get the hell out because I appear white. And he does. So I don't know. I have no idea. I can't speak to...
Well, at any time when you were watching the feed, were people coming up to him and attacking him, or
no,
threatening
he
him
was
in
away
any way?
from it. I didn't tune in until near the end of his feed, and at that point he was saying, I just saw a kid get shot in the neck. A young white kid get shot in the neck, and he's carried out. And then another person that Tim identified as a member of the press ran up and came into his feed and was like, I'm hearing automatic gunfire now, and they were discussing like, automatics, that's got to be cops coming to suppress this stuff, and it's just getting really bad, and that's when he left. And that was, 10:30 at night, and that's East Coast, so you're talking about 9:30 last night. But they burned down cars, gas stations, banks, or a bank. I mean, it's just... I don't know what you do about this stuff. I don't know how we ever get back to being able to have a sane conversation about what's actually going on.
Well, you can't have a sane conversation about race in this country.
No.
People want it to be a monologue and not a two-way discussion. And it's really disturbing that you would have a situation in a major city like Milwaukee where people are just taking to the streets to attack someone who doesn't look like you.
Right, and it has nothing to do with this.
Right.
And then destroying your own neighborhood.
That's one of the things I've never understood about the whole thing. We talked about this when the Baltimore riots broke out. It's like, okay, there was a cop shooting a civilian.
No, that wasn't even a shooting. No, that was Freddie Gray. And he wasn't shot. He died
that's right.
After the rough riot.
Yeah, in custody of the police.
He was in the hospital, but yes, in police custody in the hospital. I think he was in a coma for several days and then passed.
And people decided it would be a good time to raid a CVS pharmacy, which had nothing to do with anything, and loot it and set it on fire. And now you're seeing this in Milwaukee where people are destroying their own neighborhood. Okay. No,
it's really sad to watch. And you know that there's a level of frustration that I can't possibly understand, but this is not the answer.
No.
At all. The answer is throwing out your crappy politicians. They're the ones that pick your police force. But it's also, you have to take the time to look into the reality of the situation. And I will say, as far as having a legitimate conversation about race, I would encourage everybody to listen to the most recent Sam Harris podcast. He is an intellectually honest lefty as far as that goes. He used to partner with Hitchens in the God debates. So he's pretty good on everything except he's a diehard Clintonista for some reason. Like he believes that Trump is the next Hitler and all that garbage. But on everything else, he's damn good. And so he invited Professor Glenn Loury, who is a black economics professor at Brown University, formerly of Harvard, and who worked in the Reagan administration, I believe. He was a conservative in the 80s. Now he considers himself more of a moderate, whatever. Then he had a 2-hour conversation about race and about policing and the statistics. And it was really interesting. And Glenn Loury also hosts his own podcast. And he routinely has on another black academic named John McWhorter. And McWhorter is a linguistics English professor at Columbia. And he's much younger. I think McWhorter's probably in his 40s. Lowry's probably in his 60s or 70s. And they have conversations about this constantly. And McWhorter has written about it at length. And I will throw up a really good piece that he wrote for Time Magazine about a month ago about cases of police brutality against unarmed whites. And just, they're not exact parallels. And this was a point that I believe Loury made on both the interview with Sam Harris and his discussion with McWhorter, that when you get into these discussions, you're often faced with these counterfactual arguments. You know, Tamir Rice is the little boy, the 12-year-old who had the airsoft gun that was shot in Ohio. And he says, you know, routinely you'll hear this, well, if he had been white, then it would never have happened. And he says, you know, he just goes straight logic. Well, I can't disprove this counterfactual that you're offering. And also, I'm not privy to the entrance to the parallel universe that you have where you can see that play out in the exact opposite way.
Right.
So this McWhorter piece is really interesting because he found cases. He went through a list compiled by another academic whose name escapes me now, but it's linked in his piece at Time. And he said he tried to find cases that paralleled some of the best-known cases, like Tamir Rice. And there is one, and I think it's a 19 or 20-year-old, something like that, that was waving a plastic gun out a window, and the cops were called. They came in to the apartment building, I guess it was, took the plastic gun away from him, and then went to cuff him, and he made a wrong move. Boom, he's dead. So this is happening, and the problem is, you know, it's the use of force by the police. Both.
And now you're seeing politicians who, you know, in a lot of municipalities are looking at the citizenry as a money or a revenue stream.
Sure.
And they're trying to come up with even more ways to have police interact with citizens in a way to raise money. And we brought this up on the last show, I believe, where New Jersey is talking about pulling people over if they're drinking coffee and driving at the same time.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to make it to where there are less police-citizen interactions, we're just going to try to create more ways for police and citizens to interact in a way that could go. I mean, when are we going to see? How long will it take before, if this bill passes, we're going to see the story, black man pulled over for drinking coffee and is now dead?
Right. And not very long, I don't think. And when you're thinking about this, you know, everybody's looking forward to these self-driving cars, which I am as well. I know you have your hesitations. I can't wait.
Why?
Because I want to be able to drink and drive. And also, this is another thing. People are bemoaning, oh my God, I have a friend that's hysterical about the trucking industry is just going to be devastated. Like, what are truck drivers going to do? And, you know, I think we've gotten into this before. And, like, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
There's something like 3 million trucks on the road. Do you know how much it costs to build a truck?
$35.
Right, and how much time goes into that? And I mean, it's just like, come on, dude. This is not going to be snap your fingers.
Well, and let's face it, too. There'll be two different lobbies. There'll be the lobby that will be all for semis driving all over the country without any drivers, and then you'll have, you know, the other side that will want to. I'm sure there's some sort of truck drivers union, the Teamsters or somebody, you know, who will say, well, we got to ban semis.
Well, there has to be a person in there.
Yeah, there has to be a person or something.
Which could very well happen. I mean, it's like, you know, when the Tesla test driver died.
Yeah.
My first thought was, why the hell is there a human being in that car to begin with? That's the whole point, is you don't need a driver. So why are we expending human life on this?
But wages would go down if you just needed someone sitting in the car who didn't necessarily have to.
Theory, if they're not unionized. But point being is, okay, say this becomes a reality. I don't know how quickly it'll happen because of the regulatory issues that'll come up.
Right.
You know, my e-cig slid by regulations for, I don't know, close to a decade. But that's a little different than putting cars on the road that can then kill other people. So I imagine this will take a lot longer than people are expecting. But when that happens, and who knows if they force everybody to make the switch, if they'll try to do some kind of cash for clunkers type deal where they're like, get all of the the manually driven cars off the road.
Right.
Have to go full safety. But when that happens, there's no more need for traffic cops. There's no more need for speed limits.
Yeah.
So where are they going to get revenue from?
It's a good question. I mean, there would have to be some sort of self-driver's tax, self-driving vehicle tax or something that they would try to make up, because you're already seeing that now with the gas tax. You know, the government, the feds, state governments have been on car manufacturers for years to make more fuel-efficient vehicles, and now they're doing that, and they're losing gas tax revenue because people aren't buying as much gas. So now you're seeing where they're making a push to tax mileage. So they're always trying to find new ways to screw you.
They got to get the money somehow.
Right.
So if they're going to start taxing, they could start taxing exhalations. That wouldn't surprise me if we all had to wear masks to do a breath count. Well, if you're going to tell me that CO2 is a pollutant, then we're all polluters.
Yeah.
We're all filthy, rotten polluters.
Well, as soon as you pass a law that says you have to buy a product, you have to, then at that point they can tax air. Really? Clean air tax. Everybody has to pay it. That's one of the things that they were freaking out in Colorado about, this new single-payer healthcare bill that is, it's not a bill. I believe it's a ballot initiative. Have you looked into this?
No.
It's like a 10% FICA that you'd have to pay into. 10%. At least that's how it was explained to me. Can you imagine?
No.
People are going to move out. I talked to, as soon as this bill came up, or this ballot initiative came up, two people that lived in Colorado said, I'm moving. I can't deal with that. 10%?
It's crazy. And they're reaping all kinds of tax benefits off of pot. What the hell do they need all this money for? Where does it all go?
It's a good question. I mean,
hey, crooked-ass politicians.
We talked about this at length after the conference. It's still relatively new there. It felt like every other block had a dispensary. And, I can't believe that there are that many potheads in Colorado and people who are traveling to Colorado just to smoke pot to where they could sustain that many dispensaries. I mean, it's like seeing a liquor store every 2 blocks. You don't see that.
Well, it depends on where you are.
Well, I get that, certain parts of town, but
I mean, look at the vape stores too.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, but they're going to be shutting down like crazy. The new FDA regulations went into effect on August 8th. And from what I'm seeing in my Facebook group, with any vapors that listen to this should be joining in that group. It's an open group called Not Blowing Smoke. And there are a bunch of vendors in there, and they're saying now these regulations make it illegal for them to give free samples. So they have to charge you, and they're telling everybody to charge people in advance in case it's some secret government shopper, because of course the government can afford to send people out to go bust vape shops.
Right.
And they're not allowed, nobody that works for the shop is allowed to help you put something together. So the tech has, advanced so much. Like that little vape pen that you had was my first iteration of an e-cigarette back in 2009 when I started. So it just looks like a cigarette.
Yeah.
So tiny little battery and then a cartridge filled with liquid nicotine. But now, I mean, I stopped advancing like 2-3 years ago. I'm like, I found a setup that I like. It's fine. It's easy to use. I don't want to carry around something that looks like a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, that's exactly my buddy Jason Pye. He has one. He's like, I'm smoking Fruit Loops right now or something, or Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah,
and
but
he pulled that thing out, and it was huge.
It's massive. Yeah, it's massive. And I get that. That's cool. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I just don't want to make that switch.
Yeah.
It seems a little intense, but those have, these coils that you have to change out and all kinds of stuff. And now if you went into a shop as a smoker and you say, okay, I would like to switch to this because per the Royal College of Physicians over in the UK, this is 95% safer than the cigarettes that I'm smoking. And it is, as far as I'm concerned, it's an exact substitute. You can get the same feeling out of that.
Absolutely.
So there's no downside to it as of yet that we're aware of. You might as well do it. But they're not allowed to help you at all. They cannot touch your equipment.
That's unbelievable.
It's sick. And my wonderful state of Pennsylvania just passed a 40% tax that'll go into effect in October. And it goes into effect, it's a wholesale tax that'll go into effect on even pre-existing inventory.
Wow.
So any inventory shops had before the tax takes effect, they have to pay the tax on. So I'm reading stories about people are just thinking, I'm shutting my shop because this tax bill is going to be enormous. They don't care. They just want your damn money.
And then they'll be dumb politicians. The smart ones know that this is going to be shut down, and that's fine with them because the tobacco industry is behind all this crap. Mm-hmm. But there will be idiots that are walking around right now saying, well, you really shouldn't vape.
Oh, of course.
It's bad for you.
Of course. Well, they did an excellent job with cigarettes.
Yeah.
Demonized the hell out of them. And as Christopher Hitchens said, if secondhand smoke were as serious a problem as everybody makes it out to be, there'd be a whole bunch of bartenders' mothers up in arms about it.
Right.
It's BS, and they managed to get it through. And it's interesting because as far as the bootleggers and Baptists theory of economics, where those two groups will align on certain issues, this is the exact opposite. The bootleggers are the guys that are making, the shop owners, and the Baptists have aligned with the people that are, the big cigarette companies.
Yeah.
It's sick. It's like you guys are on the wrong side of this, and the American Lung Association is on the wrong side of this.
Well, vapors need to unite. And
they are.
They need to look at who is pushing this legislation.
It's all Democrats. All of it. I mean, it's the FDA, but in addition, you've got Democrat senators all over the place demonizing the hell out of it, dragging people in front of Congress and asking them about flavors.
Well, like I said, my buddy's smoking Fruity Pebbles.
Yeah, but you don't see Ben and Jerry getting hauled in front of Congress to testify about the obesity problem and why they make flavors that entice children to get addicted to their ice cream at a young age.
And have you looked at a pint of Ben and Jerry's to see how many calories in a pint of Ben and Jerry's?
Yes, I have when I've been on my Fat Kid Fantasy weekends.
Oh my gosh, I love Cherry Garcia.
Okay.
Love it. I think it's like 1,100 calories in a pint.
Sure. My favorite is half baked. That's chocolate chip cookie dough, and then I think it's brownies too. Yeah, that's probably 1,500, and I think that's only for half of the pint.
Oh, jeez.
Because you have to look closely. Figures it says number of servings.
I just assume one pint is one serving because that's what I do.
I know, that's how they trick you. It should just say, hey, fat ass, if you eat the whole bag. They should do whole bag math. I can't believe Michelle Obama hasn't managed to get that done.
Right.
We weren't they going to crack down on like the king size candy bars at one point?
And they've succeeded in a lot of areas. You could still get a supersized meal at McDonald's, but they don't call it supersized me anymore because they shamed corporations like McDonald's.
Oh, you can't supersize anymore?
I don't think you. It doesn't say supersized meal for 59 cents. I think they ask you would you like a small, medium, or large?
Oh,
so
you're no longer allowed to say Do you want to supersize that?
I mean, probably a lot of that has to do with that awful movie, too, that came out.
Of course.
Supersize Me. Where the guy ate McDonald's for 30 days, and on day 26th, I think he was actually put in a medically induced coma. Do you remember that, Tracy?
Yes. I didn't watch it because I don't care. I don't eat enough. I can't tell you the last time I ate McDonald's.
Oh, I can't either yesterday.
Yeah. That's not to say that I don't eat crap. If I'm going to eat a burger, I'm going to eat a decent one.
Oh.
No offense.
Oh, okay. Hey, my last name's not McDonald's. Oh, that was the other thing, too. So we're going to go back to Denver quickly. Friday night, I went to that bar like I told you about with the cooling plate and watched the Lions defeat the evil Pittsburgh Steelers. And everybody wanted to go to Rock Bottom Brewery.
Oh, we have one of those.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I was like, really? We're in Denver and we're going to go to a chain? And one of the people I was with said, well, you don't understand. This is the original Rock Bottom.
Oh, who cares?
Right. I'm like, what do I give a shit? If I go to the original McDonald's, a Big Mac is going to taste exactly the same.
Well, in Rock Bottom, I used to go there back in the days when I still drank beer.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember that every one of their beers had a soapy aftertaste.
Yeah.
What? Ugh.
I
don't know. I got out of beer before the whole microbrew craze, and now it's so irritating to me. When men talk to me about it, I'm like, "What? You might as well be talking to me about ballet." That's how gay I think you sound right now.
I'm not a big microbrew fan. I do like a stout if I drink beer, but I'm to the point where I really don't like drinking beer anymore because it makes me feel like crap. I just want to drink whiskey.
Yeah, I just want to drink tequila and wine.
Oh. Well, anything else you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
Okay, what else is going on? What else did I miss, Tracy?
Well, Julian Assange, peace be upon him, and may he stay safe.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has all kinds of protocols in place if he ends up on the kill list, which just keeps growing in numbers as well, by the way, the Clinton kill list, their body count.
Oh, Tracy, don't be a right-wing conspiracy nut.
Okay, too late. But Assange was on CNN today, and he said, tomorrow, this is our quote, our D.C. lawyers are delivering a letter tomorrow to Attorney General Loretta Lynch asking her to explain why it is that the now 6-year-long national security and criminal investigation being run against Wikileaks, the reason I have political asylum, has not been closed. And he says, because the DOJ, whose actions seem to be setting a new standard by closing the Clinton case. Hillary Clinton has only gone for 1 year. He said her case has been dropped. The case against WikiLeaks continues. So why is it that the, quote, pending law enforcement proceedings against WikiLeaks continue? There's a problem here. So basically, he's trying to use the fact that they poo-pooed what Hillary's emails sending habits, that exposed national security secrets.
Right.
He's trying to use that to say, hey, you need to drop your shit on me right this second. So he said, in our case, there's no allegation we've done anything except publish information for the public. And it was her case was closed under the basis that Comey said that they couldn't establish that there was any intent to damage national security.
Well, there you go.
Like, what a hero. So this is awesome. I love playing the hypocrisy game. And I just picture Clinton campaign headquarters where she's propped up somewhere on a pile of pillows with an IV drip of probably, what do you think, Everclear? Moonshine? Because, she's from Arkansas after all.
Chemo.
I don't think anybody said that she has cancer yet.
Oh.
But we can throw that out there. Why not? Who's to say? We don't know.
Don't know. Listen, I'm just asking a question.
It's okay to ask questions. We don't know what that lesion was on her tongue still.
No, that's right. Which was gross. And
yeah. And she did have a little slip today.
Oh, did she?
She kind of slipped off the podium, but Uncle Joe was there to catch her.
Oh, thank God. I mean, because, with that sore on her tongue, do you think that prevents Bill from kissing her?
Oh. I hope not.
I mean, I would hope that wouldn't interfere in their beautiful marriage. I mean, Tracy, did you see them dancing on the beach together in their bathing suits?
No.
It was beautiful. Thank God a photographer happened to be walking by at the time and took video. And
so random.
Right.
In the 90s, like, who had a camera on them?
Right? Who walks around with a camera? Everybody. I know I used to walk around with a huge Canon camera on me at all times, just in case I would run into the president and his wife dancing on the beach. You never know when these opportunities hit.
No.
That's why you got to be prepared.
And I would imagine he had a blimp on that camera to keep it quiet. And I don't know if you know what a blimp is.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a casing that you put around the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It almost looks like, you know what Pelican cases are? Those like heavy black, I mean, Pelican is the brand, but they're the heavy duty plastic cases that are lined with foam, and you can carry camera gear and stuff in them.
Oh, okay.
But a blimp is kind of that same idea, but it goes around the camera so that when you're taking photographs, you don't hear the shutter click.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So if you're going to sneak up on the president and the first lady and take photos unannounced, then
I'm sure that's like what porn people do, right? I'm assuming, because you got the person that's filming, and then you got someone taking still shots. Is that the same thing?
Well, if you're talking about like set photos, yeah. That's why I know what they are. They use the
Pelican?
They use it's called a blimp.
Oh, the blimp.
Yeah, that's the technical term for it. It's a blimp.
That's how you know what they are, through porn? Is that what you said?
No, yes. No. I know what they are through working on sets. Because set photographers have to have them so they can take production stills while the camera's rolling, and you don't have the shutter clicks on the soundtrack of the film.
Do new cameras that don't use film still have the shutter click?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I think some of them you can mute it. But I think the default settings to actually make a noise.
The more you know.
But I mean, yeah, because when I was there, people weren't shooting production stills on film. No way. Why would you do that? You get a roll of 24 photos. They would just sit there and hold the button down, and just do rapid fire. I'm like, well, what kind of skill does this take? Somebody's already lit the set for you, so it's perfectly lit. All you got to do is point and shoot, and if you just hold the button down and take 500 photos at a shot, odds are you're going to get a good one.
I love how we went from Julian Assange to porn and then set shoots.
We're deep here.
That's right.
We're deep. All right, so from Assange, what else do I have? Oh, our fabulous Pennsylvania Attorney General, the first female Attorney General of Pennsylvania.
She broke the glass ceiling?
She did, and guess where it landed her? Behind the iron bars. Yes. There's nothing in this piece on Philly.com about what kind of a sentence she faces, but Kathleen Kane was found guilty today of perjury, obstruction, and, quote, other charges. So this bitch has been fighting this for over a year now. They removed her law license. The governor, she's a Democrat. I know this is a shocker. The governor, who's also a Democrat, asked her to step down. She refused. The House and the Senate, I think, moved to try to impeach her, which didn't work. So after all this, now she was found guilty of 2 counts of perjury, 10 misdemeanor counts of abusing power.
Wow. And so you have to really try, if you're a Democrat in Pennsylvania, to be thrown in prison for doing something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
You have to come up with a plan.
Absolutely. Oh, and she had for years. I mean, this has been going on for a long time before charges were ever brought. These things came to light because she was one of the things that she did was she leaked grand jury documents to a reporter because she had a vendetta against a former state prosecutor that she didn't like. So this is how this all started. It was a vendetta. Yeah. So, couldn't just be a normal politician. She had to go super bitch.
Yeah.
That just can't let something go. And, she'd go to jail. But Lanny Davis was her attorney for a little while, and I distinctly remember seeing him on the local news defending her and saying this was a witch hunt by the old boys club that's unhappy that there's a woman in that job.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yep. And I mean, she's so corrupt. She has a twin sister that just magically got a job in the Attorney General's office with no prior experience, I believe.
Oh, that'll happen.
And she shut down. There was an investigation going on. I mean, this is so convoluted that I can't just give you, here are the bullet points of this, because she did so much stuff. that's just egregious. But she came in and shut down a probe into a bunch of Democrats in the city. I believe they were city officials that have been taking bribes. They were caught on tape.
Okay.
So this is why she was going after this dude. His name was, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Fina, Frank Fina. So he was the prosecutor that she went after. So he had done a sting and caught a whole bunch of Democrats taking bribes. She didn't like that.
Well, because I'm sure that's business as usual in Pennsylvania politics.
Sure, it's business as usual in every state's
Absolutely.
politics. So, like I'm saying, they had them caught on tape. Some of them were taking cash. I think some of them were taking jewelry.
Anyone smoking crack?
I don't know just yet.
Oh.
There was some guy that was stealing grant money, too, I believe.
Oh, nice.
Well, and then there's Shaka Fatah, who he going to jail, too. It's been a good year for cleaning up corrupt politicians in Pennsylvania. So, and I think since then, these the 5 Democrats that he had busted prior to have all since faced charges or pled guilty or just turned themselves in or something. So they're out. But yeah, so she had this whole deal, leaked grand jury testimony to frame him. Then there was something with, she was like, oh my God, they're sending pornographic emails to each other and tried to put them all on blast for that. And like what passes as pornographic is pretty loose.
Yeah.
I mean, and then I do not care to rephrase that. It was so pathetic. It's like stuff that we would send to each other, and it's just tasteless, but not, not Jenna Jameson kind of level of things going on here.
Jenna Jameson's art.
Yeah, well, of course. So, no offense to Jenna. Where has she been this election cycle?
I don't know. I mean, I know that didn't she just get divorced recently, and there was a big brouhaha between her and her ex about child custody, because I saw there was a lot of talk, at least last year or maybe the year before, about the Twitter battles that would be going on between her and her ex, who, for all I know, they got back together. I'm not TMZ. I don't know. I don't keep track of this stuff, but she was very outspoken in 2012, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a big Romney fan. So it's kind of shocking that we haven't seen her. But who knows? Maybe she saw what happened to Scott Baio.
Yeah.
She didn't want to go there. But yeah, so we got one Democrat woman going to jail. So I hope Hillary sees that as a warning shot. And she was in Scranton today with Uncle Joe.
Scranton. I always say that to me, Scranton sounds like some sort of really bad breakfast plate you could get at Denny's. Yeah.
Well, I told you that one of it's probably like the state meat is called scrapple.
And isn't that like
it's all
what you would find in a hot dog?
Yeah.
Open it up.
Delicious, though. And I wouldn't eat, if I had never eaten it before, like as a child without knowing what it was, I would never try it now because it sounds so revolting, but it's delicious.
No?
Oh, it's wonderful.
The more you know.
I know. But yeah, Hildo and old Joe were up in Scranton. There's some pretty creepy video of him getting off of the plane and them awkwardly hugging, like where he won't let her go. He has no standards when it comes to who he will grope.
Apparently not.
So he stays locked around her waist for at least 10 seconds.
Wow.
And you can see she's trying to pull away from him, and then she finally just gives in.
I get the biker chick thing. I'm sure that was new and exciting for him, but
I don't get the little 8-year-old girls that are the daughters and granddaughters of senators being sworn in.
Yeah, I don't get that, or grabbing onto a 69-year-old lesbian on the runway. What?
Mouth cancer. She could have Zika. I don't know. I saw a photo of her at some Zika check place, some Zika testing thing in Florida, and everybody around her looked pretty nervous.
Well, maybe that thing on her tongue was a biopsy.
That could be.
I'm just asking questions.
That's all it is. I mean, these are legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
She's fallen down a lot.
Maybe it was Cuban Super AIDS.
That's right. We haven't heard about Cuban Super AIDS.
No, we haven't. In quite a while.
Castro's keeping that stuff quiet.
I'm looking at the symptoms of Cuban Super AIDS right now. Sores on the tongue.
Okay.
Fall down and go boom on a regular basis.
Okay. seizure-like symptoms?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, uh-oh. I think maybe we need a doctor.
I think we do. I mean, what's amusing to me, and I know this probably won't surprise anybody that pays any attention to the press, is that the press is very upset. I was watching the roundtable on CNN this evening, and one of their hack Democrat commentators, I don't know her name, but I've seen several videos in the last couple of days of her screeching in defense of Hillary, just losing her mind and screaming. And so tonight, somebody on the panel that was pro-Trump brought up, they were discussing the fact that Trump keeps questioning Hillary's stamina. And I don't think he used like acumen or something like this, but he made reference to her mental capabilities.
Right.
And she was just beyond upset about this. Like, this was incredibly offensive. And I think it was a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, they paraded on all these mental health experts to psychoanalyze Donald Trump.
Right. But you can't point out that, what was it, last week she was giving a speech and someone actually poked her with a broom handle to get back on track. Because she just froze for like 10 seconds.
Oh, and don't you remember her really long potty break?
Yes.
Like, I know that wearing pants means it takes a little longer. Especially if you have to change out incontinence underwear that you wear underneath those pants.
Yeah, but but she's peeing standing up, so it shouldn't take all that long.
That's true. But she has to switch out the incontinence pants because of those coughing fits. It's my understanding that if you've had children and you get a little older, sometimes you can't control the flow of urine when you cough, sneeze, or laugh.
That it has to be really difficult to be an aging woman, Tracy Connors, who's blown child a couple of times, and
just the once for her.
All she wants to do is sit down and watch the new Ghostbusters film, and you break out in laughter and you pee your pants.
And then she's gonna. Oh, was she? No, she wasn't Doug. She was doing the nay-nay, right? With with Ellen.
Yeah.
Yes. But I love this, that they're trying to sit-down debates. Why don't they just do the debates from the Cialis tubs at this point?
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if it's an optics thing. I mean, I think some of it has to do with optics, because I don't know how tall she is.
Well, how did she look next to Uncle Joe? Uncle Joe's like 6'3", isn't he?
Is he? Well, I don't know. She fell because she was standing up. She slips a little bit. I mean, people are exaggerating it, which I don't begrudge them at all, because I want to make hay out of any time she almost falls.
Right.
But she was clearly standing on a step stool of some sort.
Okay, can I play
at this podium?
Can I play devil's advocate here for about 15 seconds? Maybe we're being a little too hard on Uncle Joe. Maybe Uncle Joe was holding her up.
It's possible.
Are you okay?
No,
can I let you?
don't
Can I
know.
let you? Can I let you go?
You got to see the video.
I'll take a look at it. But maybe he's like, "Are you okay? Is your balance okay?"
It doesn't look like it. But here's what dumb Uncle Joe did today, which is why this is the first time he's been at one of these things, or at least that it's made news. So he's trying to make a point that Trump is unqualified because he can't have the nuke codes. So he says, and I'm quoting, this is the Federalist Papers Project has this video up. He says, there's a guy that follows me. He's right back there. He has the nuclear codes. And he points at him. So he says, so God forbid anything happened to the president and I had to make a decision. The codes are with me. And he, Trump, is not qualified to know the codes. He can't be trusted.
Oh, my God.
He's like, there's the guy with the football.
Jim Smith. You see him back there? Raise your hand, Jim.
Oh, stand up. Oh, God love you. Forgot you don't have legs. I'm surprised you didn't slip up and say, like, yeah, everybody knows that Hillary's got about 3 months to live. Give the old girl
it mean a lot to her.
Break that glass ceiling. It's her last act.
Oh, my God.
Just asking questions.
Yep, and it's only August.
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Wait till Trump starts actually running ads, which they're also hyperventilating over on television. They just can't believe that he's not wasting a ton of money running ads in August.
Yeah.
I get it. Why would you? Let her spend all her money.
Well, the only thing you have to worry about is
not being able to make up ground.
Well, not just that. And I'm hoping that there are people in the campaign that know what they're doing. a lot of times candidates will try to buy ads, and the ad buys have already been made, and there is no time to buy ads anymore.
Sure. I get that. I think that there are people in the campaign that know what they're doing.
I hope so.
Just going to say that.
But you
also,
can say what you want, though, Tracy, but there have been times in the last few weeks where it doesn't seem like anyone knows what they're doing over there.
Sure. I get that. But it's also, how effective are television ads anymore? I mean, the media is going to bitch and moan about it because they're losing money.
Yeah.
They want you buying ads on their stupid shows. They want CNN wall to wall with ads for Hillary and ads for Trump.
Well, you gotta fund the new MacGyver series somehow, Tracy.
It's true, but I don't know. I mean, my brother is a millennial. He doesn't have a television.
Yeah.
It's just how worthwhile are these things anyway? And there's super PACs running ads for Trump. There's one that plays on TV constantly that's awesome. It's called Hillary Dead Broke. And it shows her whining about how they were broke, and then it's like, then they started taking money from misogynistic regimes, and they just run up these dollar figures. And I love it. The newest scandal is that Paul Manafort may or may not have earned $12.5 million from Viktor Poroshenko, I think is his name, who was like the Russian puppet, Ukrainian president, blah, blah, blah. Mm. And this is, everybody must talk about this at the top of every hour, and never mention for a moment the amount of money the Clintons have taken from them.
Yeah.
And not just them. But we're back to the red baiting days. It's kind of fun.
Well,
commies everywhere.
How is our boy Gary Johnson doing?
I think he's around 8 or 9%, which is 8 or 9% more than McMuffin. And 5 or 6% more than Jill Stein, who she and her running mate, whose name I cannot pronounce, so I won't even try. They've got a countdown onto their town hall, which is happening this Wednesday on CNN.
Oh, the Greenies are gonna be on CNN.
Yes, they're giving them equal time. And you know what? Jill Stein is not pulling punches about Hillary and her damn emails like Bernie did.
The revolutionary?
Yeah. Who's got a new $600,000 lakefront home.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's great. This is always how it goes, but he's a fraud. Jill Stein is legit revolutionary.
I hope that he writes his next speech about the rich being greedy from his third home. Will anybody point that out?
I hope he dictates it to his intern, unpaid.
I'd love to pay ya.
Well, don't you remember there was a story that came out that they were paying their staffers $12 an hour?
Yeah.
But 15, we got to get that. And if we could afford to pay them that 15, we would, but we can't. Even though we're making millions every month in donations, we just can't.
Now, if you excuse me, I got to go to my beach house.
It's a lake house, Fingers.
Oh, it's a lake house.
In New York. It's in Vermont.
It's in Vermont.
Of course. Can't travel too far. He's only got usage of that private plane for campaign events in the fall. That was part of the deal he cut.
Oh my God.
But I can't wait to see what WikiLeaks is going to drop. And there's another site called DC Leaks. Mm-hmm. Just published a bunch of stuff over the weekend, including Soros files.
Now, my question is, if say you've got, let's say it's the Bernie people that are behind this. The
leaks to WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
You mean it's not the Russians?
Well, no, I'm just saying that these are very, these people were in the Bernie camp and they recognized that the fix was in and they want to get back at Hillary. Mm-hmm. Do you hold something back that's huge to release in October? Or do you blow your load over the next few weeks and, release everything? Well,
Assange said he doesn't sit on stuff.
Okay.
He said this in the interview with Dutch television where he intimated that Seth Rich, who is the DNC staffer that was shot in the back of the head in a robbery in which nothing was stolen, that their sources go to great lengths and put themselves in great peril to get them this information so they don't sit on it beyond doing the proper vetting to make sure that it's legitimate.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, he's the sort of Damocles hanging above Hillary's head right now. And she's probably trying desperately to figure out how to get at him. in exile.
Listen, I think it's really unfair to pin this murder on Democrats.
Sure.
I mean, because, as you know, I have a lot of experience with unions. And, unions, the people in unions, they aren't violent.
Sure. No.
So, really, there are no arms in the Democratic Party. There's no wing of the Democratic Party that would be involved in any kind of violence toward anyone, really.
No, that's never happened. There's no precedent for that.
So,
whatsoever.
Not being fair, trying to pin the murder of the leaker.
The potential leaker, allegedly. The author of 3 anti-Clinton books, who was found dead, and they're saying it's a suicide. And I believe that happened like a week or so ago.
What's his name? Who wrote Clinton Cash? I hope
Peter Schweitzer.
Yeah.
I think he'll be okay. I think he's too. See, they're taking. I mean, allegedly, of course.
Yeah.
The people that are mysteriously meeting unfortunate ends aren't as high profile as, say, a Peter Schweitzer is. That would be too obvious. Unless he fell out a window or something like that. I believe that that's happened before around the Clintons. They know a lot of people that die in really odd ways.
You're being unfair, Trey. Again, you're a right-wing conspiracy nut.
It's entirely true. I'll take that moniker happily.
In 2016, it seems like the 2 campaign mottos should be Trump. He didn't mean it like that. And Clinton, you can't prove anything. Be the 2 campaign mottos going forward.
I think you should be a consultant. Yeah, I didn't really mean that. I mean, that was, I don't know if you got to see the fallout. I mean, it lasted all week. The Second Amendment comments that he made on Monday or Tuesday of last week, saying, like, Second Amendment folks might be able to do something about Hillary.
Yeah.
Which is misinterpreted by the left. I mean, like an open call for her assassination, which is absurd, but they'll talk about it for 2 days. And then by the end of the week, he was saying that Obama founded ISIS.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And I don't know if you follow Scott Adams, who is the Dilbert cartoon guy, which you might laugh at if you don't follow him, but he's been amazing during this. His blog is, I think it's blog.dilbert.com or something, and he's also on Twitter. And he came to my attention because he was on Bill Maher's show maybe 3 months ago talking about this and talking about the Trump's persuasive techniques that are just unbelievable. And Adams is a trained hypnotist, and he's also studied persuasion and all that stuff. And he was just explaining his use of language and the fact that he, slapped her with Crooked Hillary really early on, and then that sticks in everybody's minds, and then the email stuff comes out, and they're immediately like, oh my God, Crooked Hillary, whatever. But Adams wrote a piece about this Trump and, Obama is the founder of ISIS.
Yeah.
And he talked about the cognitive dissonance and watching it happen with reporters, because he's like, they have it in their heads that he's an idiot. So they go after it like, oh my God, what an idiot, and they're just reporting on it as if he's being serious, and they have to fact check him, which CNN was doing. Didn't we talk about this with them with their Chiron?
No, I don't know if we did or not.
Well, CNN throws up a Chiron that says Donald Trump says Obama founder of ISIS, and then in parentheses, he's not. That's their fact check. So this piece that Adams wrote is just hilarious, because he's like, this is so funny that they're fact checking this. And then he said, he had tweeted later, Trump had said Hillary's also a founder, and he said that they're the MVPs of ISIS. So Adams is like, are they going to fact check whether or not ISIS actually gives out MVP awards? Because this is a big deal. Like, we really need to get to the bottom of this, because if they don't, that's another lie. So it was just amazing, because he's got them on repeat saying Obama is the founder of ISIS. And that's all people are going to remember. So he's just clever persuasion techniques. Easy for me to say.
Oh.
But it's great. So I hope he keeps doing stuff like that. The foreign policy speech he gave today was really good. And so everybody that's never Trump will come out and applaud him, and they'll say, well, just wait for him to say something stupid. So we'll see how long that can stick.
Oh, and it's only August.
It's going to be so much fun. We're, a month and 2 weeks away from the first debate.
Oh. Well, we've been talking for over an hour and a half.
Yep.
And we have Ashe Schow yet.
All right.
So why don't we take a break, and then when we come back, Ashe Schow will be here.
Excellent.
Enough already!
Ashe Schow of the Washington Examiner and New York Observer is here. Ashe?
Fingers.
You said you wanted to be part of our furry discussion. Do you have a story or something?
No, I was just seeing your Facebook status updates and thought I need to hear this, and I just need to be part of this discussion because I want to hear what you have to say and I want to be able to comment on it.
Oh, we talked about it earlier, but I'll just let you know.
Of course you did.
Well, I mean, they were walking around in costumes, and for the most part, it was harmless. Well, all of it was really harmless. They were, hanging out with each other. They weren't trying to drag other people into their furry con, but there was some
Nobody
weird
tried
stuff.
to recruit you?
No one tried to recruit me.
Because you look like you could be a convincing badger.
Oh, that's good to know. Enjoy your 5 cats, Ashe. No, but they were just running around in 90-degree heat in their furry costumes, and there was a weird moment where one guy wearing a tail was directly behind another guy wearing a tail, and the guy in back was scratching the guy's ears in front, and he was making this weird sound. And that freaked me out.
Like when a cat's about to have a hairball?
It was
That's
strange.
what that sounded like.
I don't know what it was, but that was a little freaky. But what are you gonna do?
You just always seem like, you showing up at a hotel and they're having a furry convention. It doesn't seem like that's the first time I've heard of something like that happening to someone I know. Like, it seems to kind of be a more regular thing than you would think. Oddly enough.
Well, they happen all over the country. When I checked into the hotel, I went upstairs to do a little research, and the first thing that popped up was Atlanta FurCon. I was like, oh, apparently this is a thing where they get together and they show off each other's costumes and they have contests and raves. But apparently Tracy and I determined that there really can't be a foam party at one of these things because of their furry costumes. So,
yeah, foam would be probably really bad for the synthetic fibers.
Tracy, you notice that whenever we bring up a foam party to Ashe, she gets quiet?
Yeah, well, she had to cover Rubio in the primary, I assume. So she was part of that national conversation we had for the first time about foam parties.
That's true.
Florida also always heard about foam parties. Leave Florida, never hear about foam parties. It's apparently just a Florida thing. Elsewhere in the country, Florida also has day glow parties, but I think those occur a little bit more regularly, evenly dispersed throughout the country. But apparently foam parties, just a Florida thing.
So you're saying Florida man loves his foam parties?
That would seem to be the case, yes.
Should we talk about what Ashe has written about lately, Tracy, or did you want to jump in on the whole furry Ashe conversation?
No, I've said my piece on that.
All right, Ashe, you keep watching the Olympics. I don't know why.
I'm not even really. I'm not really even watching them because I don't have any cable provider or whatever to watch them with, and I have not been able to get the NBC live stream to work on any computer or any medium that someone has sent me a link on. So I've not been watching them, but I have been watching the social media contrived outrage about them. So first there was this whole this othering, where the only reason we were talking about certain Olympians really was because of how they're different, how they're not white and not male. So we had, I don't know how to say her first name, and I think we actually talked about this last week with the Muhammad woman with the hijab, and now, of course, there's new outrage because the Associated Press dared to write a headline that featured Michael Phelps first and Katie Ledecky second, even though Phelps got silver and Ledecky got gold. Like, these people are making up this outrage because a lot of them are in the media, so they know how this works. They know that, you know about search engine optimization. You know about keywords. You know that, yes, Katie Ledecky might be a star in this Olympics, but Michael Phelps is an actual household name. Ledecky really isn't yet. She might be after these Olympics. She's definitely a star at this Olympics. But after the Olympics, unless she's getting sponsorship dealings or smoking weed or getting DUIs or marrying former Miss Californias, she's probably not going to be in the headlines. So she could very well disappear. Phelps, we all know him. Even after the Olympics, even between the Olympics, people can say Michael Phelps, and you won't have to be like, oh, that Olympics guy. With Ledecky, after these Olympics are over, unless any of that other stuff happens or some other controversy or sponsorship deal, people are going to say Katie Ledecky, and you're going to be like, who? Oh, that girl that was really great at swimming at the Olympics. And, oh, yeah, her. Like, that's how it is for these Olympics. That's how it is for these athletes. I mean, you have to, gymnasts and figure skaters usually get well known because they end up on Wheaties boxes. We remember Nastia Lukin. We remember Kara Lipinski. Carrie Strug, obviously, because of her injury, but also she was great. We're going to remember Simone Biles, probably. But as for, almost probably 99% of the other athletes there, you're not going to remember them, even if they are winning lots of gold medals. We didn't even know about Michael Phelps. This is his fifth Olympics. And I don't think anybody really started recognizing him as a household name until his third Olympics in 2008, when he broke the record for winning the most gold medals in a single Olympics contest. And then it was all Michael Phelps. Ledecky hasn't done that yet. She's certainly amazing in her own right, but she hasn't reached Michael Phelps territory. She hasn't reached, Lipinski territory at this point, Nastia Lukin territory. She could get there, but right now she's just an athlete, and swimming just isn't the most popular sport in all of, America. And that was the other Olympic outrage they had with the trap shooter from Chicago, who's married to a Chicago Bears player. So the headline was, wife of Chicago Bears lineman, and everyone gets bent out of shape. She's an athlete in her own right. How do you have to tie her to a man? And it was because he's more well known. And maybe not his name, but you say Chicago Bears, it's who? You say, oh, trap shooter. It's what is that even? And I gave the example of, what's his name? I have to look it up even though I wrote it in my article. Douglas Brunt. If I say that name, it means nothing to you, right?
Yes.
But if I say Megyn Kelly's husband, then it matters. Then it's she does have a husband. I guess that's his name. That's just how it goes. It's the more famous person gets into the headline first. And it's not to say that this other person, it's selling newspapers. And name of woman you've never heard of isn't going to sell newspapers. Chicago Bears player is going to sell newspapers. Katie Ledecky might sell some newspapers, but is she going to sell as many as Michael Phelps? Probably not.
So you've been watching the social justice outrage during this whole Olympic Games, and I wonder, Ash, has there been any discussion about how grotesque it is that we have gendered Olympics at this point in time?
Oh, of course not. Of course, that never comes up. It's always like, oh, but this, Ledecky's doing great. It's like, well, could she beat Michael Phelps? And maybe she could because he's 31 and she's 19. Could she have beat 2008 Michael Phelps? Probably not in a head-to-head competition.
Right.
No one calls for it because they want to say, oh, women are just as good as men. Oh, but women can't compete against men. No, of course not. We can compare their times and prove that they're just as, but no, because the simple fact is that men are bigger and stronger and faster.
That's a sacrilege. We can edit that out if you'd like.
No, it's just like I'm sorry, but in our own little competitions, you would probably, Tracy, beat me in drinking, but Fingers is going to beat both of us.
That's questionable.
And it's not.
Oh, please.
It's not just because he's been drinking for decades longer than either of us. He's got years and years of practice under his belt. It's just that he can just put back more. He's a man.
It's true.
Thanks, it's called you fat.
Yeah, she called me fat. She called me old.
Yep.
And she's one of the best friends I have. So how much coverage has Bruce Jenner gotten in this Olympics?
I haven't heard his meme with to anything. And actually, oddly enough, speaking of running, I guess, have just recently heard about Usain Bolt. He wasn't even in a lot of headlines until that photo of him was taken where he's running ahead of everybody and he's looking at the camera and he's ridiculously photogenic Usain Bolt because he's smiling at the camera, but he's in the middle of a race and it's everybody else behind him is concentrating. It's really funny, but it was just I was wondering if he was even in these Olympics just because there hadn't been any discussion of him ahead of time. Everybody's talking about Michael Phelps.
Well, is that just
and then they were trying to push these female
that he's
Jamaican? They're trying to push these. Yeah, true. He's not with the U.S., so that's probably why. But he's still, the fastest man alive.
Yeah, and it's awesome to watch him run because it's completely effortless. It looks like.
Yeah. Well, that's why you have that photo of him smiling at the camera. It's like he's just going out for a jog and everybody else is running for their life.
Yeah, he's a badass.
And I look forward to him joining the Jamaican bobsled team at some point. Which should be
get that really good running start from him.
Mm-hmm. And the Jamaican chicks won. Well, the gold and the bronze in the 100-meter. And they made it look just as effortless as Bolt did.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my Olympic watching. It's just the races that last 10 seconds. It's the most I can handle.
Right. Because who really has more of a, attention span beyond that?
Yeah, there's too much else going on.
I do find it's a right-leaning controversy, but it is interesting to me, this whole concept of ignoring athletes because they're in the shooting competition. Like the woman who has won gold in 6 different Olympic competitions now. So this is her 6th Olympics, and she's won gold every time, and yet nobody gives a crap about her because she's shooting a gun, and guns are bad, and everybody who shoots is evil and a murderer, and the media will report on her if she kills somebody. Then it'll be like Olympian murders somebody, right? But since that's not likely to happen because gun people aren't murderous assholes, they'll just ignore her because they just want to pretend that America is not good at shooting. Or they have these articles that's like, oh, this woman, America takes the gold in shooting. Because America is the worst country in the entire world. Has the worst gun violence ever. So long as we exclude terrorism attacks and gang violence. And then America's terrible.
But I wonder if it's also the fact that they don't want people understanding that guns can be used for practice shooting, target shooting, fun things.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all,
not.
they have
the
to be
media has this
weapons
idea. The only reason anyone would ever own a gun or shoot a gun is to try and murder another human being or an innocent, defenseless animal, because conservation means nothing to these people. Harambe was innocent.
He'll be back soon enough. They're going to resurrect him from the dead and clone him.
We can only hope.
I kid you not. What's his name? Scarelli's talking about doing that.
Oh, God.
Well, let's talk
did we save this gorilla's dental fiction? Did we save his DNA for this?
There has to be DNA somewhere in that habitat. It can be done, Ash. Don't my Harambe dreams. Feast upon him.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the 2016 race. You got a story up regarding Hillary Clinton's website. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on there?
Yeah, so back in September and again in November, Hillary Clinton made these comments that, anyone who makes a sexual assault accusation has the right to be believed, which is just another one of these liberals, handing out rights like candy. This is a right. You've got a right. Everybody's got a right to everything now. Everything's a human right. Health insurance, birth control, it's all human rights. So she was making these claims, and of course that opens her up to, well, does that mean Bill's accusers have a right to be believed? And then, of course, she has to come back and say, well, until evidence proves otherwise, but there was never any evidence that proved otherwise for Bill's accusers. So, that kind of get her into hot water. And then in February, shortly after Juanita Broaddrick, one of Bill's accusers, tweeted about her story and how it still hurts, the campaign removed the words "have the right to be believed" from the website. Now, there's still a video of her saying those words, but the words themselves are gone from the campaign website.
Amazing. And that went away in February, right? And somebody just figured that out now?
Yeah, a Redditor discovered it. Juanita Broaddrick was giving a Ask Me Anything. It's kind of like a town hall over the internet type thing on Reddit, and somebody had mentioned that, and there was a BuzzFeed article written about Juanita Broaddrick, and this little tidbit was buried deep within the article, and of course that's what everybody notices, and now, every news outlet, right-leaning news outlet, and then some, I think The Hill, which isn't the most left-leaning, but it's a bit more mainstream. A bunch of these outlets have written about this removal, and I'm not sure whether if lefty outlets write about it, whether it's going to be hey, you need to put it back in, because I'm wondering if there's going to be pressure for her to put it back in, even though on its face the words didn't make any sense, because if you're a survivor, you have to have survived something. And usually if you've survived something, as in your life was in danger, there's some evidence. If, a regular, sexual assault accusers, you believe them if it's already proven. But this is saying that just because someone makes an accusation, you have to believe them and accept them. And then that, by, continuing down that strip of logic, whoever they accuse, you have to believe is an evil, awful rapist, no matter what the evidence says, which is what we're seeing on college campuses right now, but it's a really dangerous line of thinking.
Well, I don't know if you saw this article the other day, but I thought about tweeting it to Hillary, and this was before the revelations that she had removed that language from her website, but there was, I believe, a Russian woman who called the police because she believed she was raped by a Pokemon Go character.
I saw that, and then there was also a woman who, I don't know, used 50 Shades of Grey to accuse somebody of rape. It was a false accusation. There was another story about, a couple that was terrorized. I guess there was a threesome, and then one of them accused them of rape, and it's just, all of these false accusations coming out. I think a couple weeks ago, so last year, a young man in the United Kingdom, Cheshire, I believe, committed suicide after being falsely accused. And a year later, his mother committed suicide because of the loss of her son because of a false accusation. And yet, people don't want to talk about these things. They want to, whenever somebody makes an accusation on a college campus and then kills herself, which there's been a couple of those, then it's, oh my God, we have to believe every accuser. But if someone who has been falsely accused kills himself, then we can just ignore that. It doesn't matter. That was just a lone incident, or these things are rare, and, you know, all of these caveats are made to ignore a very real problem of false accusation.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say I believe this Russian woman. I do think that Pokemon Go character totally raped her.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen and believe, right? I mean,
Yes.
we have to.
Yes.
And
maybe
therefore,
Jill and Brand will
anyone
take
who
it to the
plays-
Senate floor for us.
Right. Yeah, Gillibrand taking this poor woman to the next State of the Union, and this and by extension, that would mean anybody who plays Pokemon Go is enabling rapists, because all these characters could be rapists.
Oh my God. They are trying to get Harambe incorporated into it. You know, I'm serious. The cult of Harambe is no joke.
Why did the cult of Harambe come back? Why did it take a few months break and then all of a sudden come back?
It's summer vacation and now school's back in. That's why.
Okay,
I mean, it probably consists of teenagers. So they were at summer camp or summer school.
I guess I was just all of a sudden like, why are we talking about Harambe again? What, huh?
I don't know why we ever stopped talking about Harambe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question as well. I do love all the, you know, Harambe and Cecil the lion are, you know, up in heaven plotting together.
That's my ticket for 2016, Harambe Cecil.
Well, do we have anything else we want to talk to Ashe about, Tracy?
Well, yeah. We're going to get some big news this Friday about the UVA case, right?
Well, it was supposed to be last Friday, and he didn't rule, so it's now day-to-day waiting.
And this is about whether or not the defamation suit filed by the Dean Aramo, is that right, will go forward?
Dean Aramo, whether or not it will go forward or be dismissed, which I guess, unless it's some miracle for Rolling Stone, I can't imagine it being dismissed.
Yeah.
Although, some of the questions being asked, I mean, and I've seen some cases that seemed really solid, you know, gender bias claims from students accused on college campuses and lack of due process claims get dismissed with judges doing mental gymnastics, saying basically that, like, well, the school followed their own rules, it doesn't matter, you know, and saying that, or making these students clear hurdles. I mean, there was a case in New York where the kid had his case dismissed, and now a circuit court has overturned that dismissal. But basically, the first judge said that you have to prove, just to get over the dismissal charge, you have to prove that men and women are treated differently, and there's no way that student would have access to that information unless the case was allowed to go forward to discovery. So the judge was holding them to something that they couldn't possibly have access to without getting to, you know, the discovery phase. So it was just an impossible standard.
Well, hopefully we'll hear something this week.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You can catch all of Ashe's work over at the Washington Examiner and New York Observer, and follow her on Twitter at Ashe Schow. Ashe, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, talk to you then.
Well, I think we're done here. Remember, you can always check out the Enough Already podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and the TuneIn app. Please like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Enough Already podcast. Music for this podcast is provided by YoPolymusic.com. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.